Today's cover story, a dangerous drug that is gaining popularity, and it's causing alarm following the deaths of 3 people in just the last week. NBC's Ron Mott has details. Ron, good morning.
Hey, Natalie, good morning. Molly is a form of the drug ecstasy that was popular on the party scene back in the 90s. Rappers are rapping about it, singers are singing about it, and now authorities are very worried about it. Where there's music, there's probably Molly. Especially at thumping, pulsating, razzle-dazzle light shows popular at raves and electronica or techno concerts. This weekend in New York City, a 3-day music fest was cut short after Olivia Rotondo of Providence, Rhode Island, and Jeffrey Russ of Rochester, New York, died of suspected overdoses of the drug Molly. 4 others were hospitalized.
It's really sad. The whole thing is sad.
Molly is considered a pure form of MDMA, commonly called ecstasy.
It's a big thing at these festivals just because the way the drug makes you feel, it makes you feel the music more.
Last week in Boston, a 19-year-old college student died at a popular nightclub.
She was such a great kid.
Sad, very sad.
This summer, a man died at a music fest in Washington State, and experts say the connection to music is no coincidence.
It's cheap, it's easy to do, and it's fairly portable. So if a kid wanted to sneak Molly into a concert, it's a lot easier to do that than it would be even marijuana.
Molly has even made its way literally into music. From artists like Kanye West to Madonna, who named an album with a similar name to the drug, MDNA, and took some heat for this.
How many people in this crowd have seen Molly?
I think I was being ironic. There were posters everywhere saying, if you've seen Molly, call this number.
That irony and the drug's dangers aren't lost on authorities.
It's very popular in college bars, it's very popular in the techno crowd, but it's becoming more and more popular with, pop culture as well as rappers.
According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Molly-related emergency room visits skyrocketed from 2004 to 2009, a 123% increase.
Your inhibitions are gone, your anxiety is gone, you just think you're feeling good, but your body's shutting down.
And Dr. Roberson says the early warning signs leading up to a possible overdose are high heart rate, dehydration, and increased blood pressure, quickly raising the body's temperature. Natalie.
All right, Ron Mott, thanks so much. Brad Lamb is an addiction specialist, and Lucy Fink is a senior at Johns Hopkins University. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Lucy, let me start with you. You don't have firsthand experience with this necessarily, or personal experience, but you've been around the scene, the music scene.
Yeah.
You know what happens at these concerts. What have you heard?
When you go to these big concerts, there are big crowds, and you're mixing alcohol with potential for party drugs. Plus, there's a lot of dehydration, and there's so much noise, and everything is going on that when you're in that moment, I've never taken the drug myself, but if we're talking about Molly specifically, it's an incredible stimulant, and just being touched or dancing, it supposedly feels very good.
And is it something that's easily available from what you've heard to young people?
It's everywhere. Honestly, it's incredibly casual these days. It's the type of thing that it's not even like you'd be getting pressure from friends to use it. It's just that it's there in front of you, and you see everyone using it, and it honestly seems harmless. So your friends are having fun, and you just want to join in.
And Brad, from what we've heard, it seems to be cheaper than other drugs as well. So what is the allure to young people?
It's cheap and easy to get, and even to the name, Molly, like crystal meth has a street name of Tina. It demystifies it, makes it cool, and truth is it makes you feel better. It increases serotonin, but the dangers are not only the crash after, but this love drug of today is not the drug from the 80s and 90s. It's not the drug that was used in clinical trials and therapy.
It's sort of an ecstasy mix, right? What's being mixed in, and that's the danger.
Acid mixed in, there's often amphetamines mixed in, which really has great potential for addiction. So if you're a person prone to chemical dependency and you try this, you can easily get hooked. And so for Jeffrey and Olivia, this story of overdose and death raises the issue for so many parents across America. Well, how many people are really doing it? And a 2011 study tells us that 12% of 18 to 25-year-olds have used Molly.
And even just casual use, I mean, one time at a concert, what are the risks associated with that potentially could lead to deaths, as we saw this weekend?
Well, it's often risks of dehydration, rapid heartbeat, change in breathing, breathing, you don't eat and don't drink, so that's part of the reason you get dehydrated. Also, you're dancing a lot, but increase blood pressure too. So a lot of risk just for physical health as well as mental health.
So for parents who want to have that conversation with their kids or even are looking for signs of use, what do they look for?
Well, I brought you this because there's proof in urine. I tell parents there's power in pee, and don't be afraid to drug test your kids.
Really?
It's one of the easiest things you can do. I remember when I was a kid and started experimenting with drugs, I would tell my folks, no, why would you say I'm using drugs? And they would go away because they want to believe. And so parents, when you're faced with that, ask, have the conversation, but then verify it with an easy over-the-counter drug test that really helps you stay accountable, helps your kids stay accountable. And even if your kids are in college and you think, oh, they're out of the house, they're on their own, I don't want to interfere. We have love and other kinds of financial leverage that connect us. So ask the questions, have the conversation, but verify with the drug test. Nothing like it.
All right, and Lucy, I mean, for kids who are watching this as well, you have to look at the examples that we just saw this week. And once again, we saw 3 people within the last week who died using this drug. Are the risks worth it? I mean, kids think they're invincible.
Honestly, kids are going to think they're invincible until something like this happens, either to them or to someone that they know, or honestly just somebody in the world. And I think the best thing that parents can do right now is share this story with their kids. When your kids are going from 8th grade into high school, that's probably a good time to start talking to them about drugs, because at that point, educating them is the best thing that you can do. And when they're exposed to them, whether or not they choose to partake, at least they'll be educated.
All right, Lucy Fink, Brad Lamb, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here.